Okay, this is the meeting of the Animal Control Ad Hoc Committee. Calling this meeting to order. And Donna, would you mind saying our invocation? Do you mind doing our prayer?
You want me to do that?
Would you?
Okay.
Thank you.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for all the people in this room who are here today because they have caring hearts and giving hearts. And want to just bless over this county that we live in and our city of Hendersonville and all the cities under our county. And I want to thank all those who are participating this evening. And thank you for this beautiful day, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, we got an agenda. Approval of the minutes.
I wasn't here, I'll have to abstain, please.
I'll read them, so moved.
Got a second? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, recognition of the public. Kathy? Kathy Arlen, and just state your address when you come out.
Sure, I'm Kathy Arlen. I live at 231 Chipaway Drive in Gallatin. And thank you for letting me speak. I know we've had some challenges with the AV, so we'll, again, just go from, go from no. Just wanted to say thank you. We have seen some things coming out of animal control, including, I think, an announcement you're gonna make, so I'm not gonna step on that. Also just wanted to say, it sounds like there's a nice adoption today. That was on Facebook, so good to see that. But I just kind of wanted to run through a few things. And again, I was gonna show this online, but I really can't right now. I will say that in the last month, we do now have some pictures up on Pet Finder. So that is I feel like a good step. The quality of the pictures we can dispute. What I was going to show you was some of the pictures that we have from some of the other organizations, very quality
Feel
photos.
free to turn around, and people that can see can
Okay.
see, and if not, they're
Sure.
gonna look later.
So we've got some very quality pictures up on some of the local websites, including Safe Place for Animals, Sumner County Humane. So I think, just looking at the quality of the pictures would be a good thing to look at. But again, I'm not sure that we've got maybe a staff that is really good and the social media connections part of things. We've talked about some things, and I've put my presentation from last month into, I sent that to Donna, so she's got that to put it into the minutes. And one thing that went out from Animal Control this past week was a plea that the kennels were full, and that we published some euthanasia statistics from, I guess, last month. 50 animals were euthanized, 3 separate euthanasia dates, only 33 adopted, 40 animals, I think this means they went to a rescue, and 25 animals were returned to the owners. So I appreciate that they are publishing these statistics. I believe that's the first time that that's happened in some time. So I'm glad to see that, but the numbers are not what I would consider good. So one of the things I talked about last time was the use of the budget. One thing that I have entered into the county's documents is I did get a budget from McCamey Animal Center in Chattanooga. They, population-wise, are very similar to us. The population of Sumner County is about the same as the population of their intake area, which is Chattanooga City, the city of Red Bank, and the city of Lakeside. They have a $3.6 million budget. And they have just a really well-functioning facility. I challenge anybody to go check them out. I know there are others.
They have a fabulous, unbelievable facility.
Yes, they do. They are amazing, and like I said, population-wise, they are about the same as our intake area of Sumner County. So again, that's just my amateur looking through the Census Bureau. So I really challenge everybody to look at that. Going back to the Pet Finder thing, I'm sorry I'm all over the place. I just wanted to say about Pet Finder, a little story. We actually had a dog that was found on Pet Finder this past couple of weeks. Her name was Peggy. She was a little pug and beagle mix. And she came to our shelter, just her owner had died, and the neighbors found us and we thought we could place her, so we took her in. Peggy, actually, I drove her to Virginia to this lady who found her on Pet Finder. So the idea that Pet Finder is kind of an ancillary thing, Pet Finder has got to be a part of everything that we do. So again, what my recommendations are, and I wish I could give you the websites I wanted to look at, but is having an experienced animal control professional to run our shelter. And I'm gonna address the elephant in the room right now, which is, does Sumner County really need the large salaries of deputies to run animal control when that money could be going to the care and facilitation of the actual shelter? Forget the prison labor, bringing people that can actually do it. Have a vibrant volunteer and rescue and foster coordination. And this can be done if we can spread our funding out better than we're doing it now. And I know that might not be a popular opinion, but sheriffs should be able to do things like look for missing children and things like that. We know we have to have animal control officers, but do we need to be spending all of the money that is given to Sumner County? And again, our budget is about $670,000 versus a comparable place that has a $3.6 million budget. Should all of that money be spent on basically salaries? So that's really all I have to say today. Like I said, I had much more that I could have shown you, but I'll leave it at that, and hopefully we have some more things, and I think I'm on time for a change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You did a good job.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one question?
Sure,
That's
yeah.
pertinent to that. In Chattanooga, how many animals do they see in a year, do you know?
I can find
I
that
mean,
very
you-
quickly.
You told us the population, it's just the numbers
That's
game.
the people
Thank you.
population.
And we can get it afterwards, thank you.
Yeah, I will get that.
I appreciate it.
The Chattanooga facility, the intake portion of it is animal control. The other half of it is Humane Society. They have different areas for different stages of the dogs. The initial intake, they have a very large veterinary section in the middle, and then they have them through the stages of training.
That's what I'm used to. Thank you. I've seen.
Okay, next is report of the chairman. I have no report except for, I think you probably have an announcement or something coming up about next month. We'll deal with that then. You probably have more to say about that than I do. We got a discussion for policy and procedures that we've continued on. So I'd entertain a motion for discussion on that.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Who seconded it? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Floor's open for discussion to continue on policy and procedures. I know there's some things that were left probably open last time because we're limited on time with these meetings, but if anybody has anything that they want to question about those, now's the time.
I want to thank you so much for giving me some of the information that was requested. I didn't, job description and duties and things of that nature, but I think, and I'm not sure if this is in here, but maybe, I don't know if there's training protocols. Say, for example, if it's the trustees, are they undergoing some sort of training? If so, what does that look like? And other individuals who are within training and doing certain tasks, is that in here as well? Is that what we're going to see in here?
What I gave you was what we gave initially, was job descriptions, intake procedures, adoption procedures, things of that nature. Your policies and procedure, I asked, for the record, I asked Chief Craddock about it again. The new policies and procedures are still in the process thereof. So I asked him about it, and he said he will release those, but only after they get completed.
Because what could happen, what would probably be ideal, is a compare and contrast. Where are we now in policy procedures, especially when it comes to training individuals, whether it be the staff and how they're trained, and just to make sure, like, are they optimally trained? Because they'll answer a number of questions.
All of our officers are trained.
Right.
They're certified, national certified animal control officers and cruelty investigators.
And the
We are
trustees?
training and stuff that it costs right at $10,000 per deputy to go through the training. There are different modules, A, B, and C, that are taught at different times. Each one has its own curriculum. The officers, if we can't get something we have done is we've been able to host a class here at our facility, and they're looking to host more. That way, if we're the hosting agency, then we either get 1 or 2 slots at no charge. So that helps. But like I said, it's a national curriculum that they go through that's been approved across the United States. People from all over go through it, and the sheriff took that on himself. He didn't say you had to. That's something that he decided that he wanted his all the officers to be trained and certified in.
And the trustees, do they undergo some sort
The
of?
trustees are the same thing as anybody else off the street. They've come in, they're shown how to clean, how to handle the dogs, what is expected of them, what not to do. And you know, sometimes they do when the cage says don't open aggressive dog, and then you have a knucklehead that opens it up and it gets bit, then that's on that person. But they are instructed and told what to do, how to do it, and shown how to do it. So like I said, each one that comes in, they go through that standard.
And I think what in my mind is I always look at baseline. Where are we and where are we going? If there's access to, that's why the protocols probably were requested early on, because what's probably going to happen once we go through team shelter, they're going to have recommendations, suggestions, etc. But it's always good to look at where are we and then what changes have occurred. And then you could see a progression, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't have baseline. So typically protocols and things of that nature could be accessible online in a very tech-savvy world that we live in. So I think that would be very good to have those, so you're at baseline, where we are and where are we going to migrate to. And it's always like comparative. So it would be ideal if we could get access to current.
And I have relayed that information.
Okay.
Commissioner Boyd?
So a couple of follow-ups. When do we anticipate that the new procedures are going to be out? I know that Chief Craddock and I talked before when we had the new 300-page revision of the whole sheriff's, and I'm not even sure if that's back yet. I think it went back out for revise again. My understanding is they were working on that for several years. So I hate to ask, but are we going to see it?
They're in the final drafts of writing and rewriting, and most of the policies probably are going to be, I don't want to overspeak, but it's coming from the Williamson County Animal Control Division shelters that out there. They're modeling some of the new revised protocols and policies from theirs.
Do you think we'll see something by June?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we was hoping to already see something, but like I said, some more looking through it and, rereading, which that's what they do. That's what you do when you're going over them, to make sure you try to get it right, current with the times and stuff. But yes, especially we'll get on down when we'll discuss Team Shelter USA and what that's all about.
Mm-hmm.
I think with that news, and once you understand who they are, what they do, and the services that they offer, I believe it's going to answer, I want to say 95%.
Yeah, all my
98% of
they
any
have
questions.
answered all of my questions, so I feel really good. So I'm just wondering now if you're going to be able to give the new procedures to them before they present to us.
Oh
in
yes,
April.
oh yes. We've got a list of requests.
Yes, I've seen it.
That they're going to turn into them, and they start April 1st
Yes.
on the ground.
Yes, I know.
Here,
It's
here.
exciting, isn't it?
Run and gun and doing the things that they need to do. So and they do a full case study.
Yes,
Let's
and
save
I
that
want to
for-
save
Okay,
it,
let's
yeah,
save
I'm
that for
sorry.
discussion.
So, but the procedures will be in their hands for full review. That was my
I would
question.
venture to
Thank you.
say that no matter what was in play, trying to get those procedures going, that the pause button probably has been pushed to see what comes out of this team shelter, because
Yeah,
it can only
I think
help.
so.
It can only add in better form this thing that was already in progress. So I don't expect to see it till after that, but probably quickly after that, we'll probably get something. Just for clarification, the reason why we've left it on the agenda is so that we can keep on having these discussions, because it is the meat of these meetings, and the questions that come out of here will undoubtedly be asked in that April meeting. So all good thoughts generated here is why we've left it on there. Commissioner
I
Janelle,
had a question,
yes.
but I'm not real clear where it's gonna go in your agenda here.
Ask it, and I may say, go ahead, let's talk about it, or may
Yeah.
say, just let's wait till
I was
it's a different section.
thinking while y'all were, I shouldn't have been doing that, but I was thinking about when y'all were talking and about what the lady over here had talked about.
Kathy.
And we talked about, the sheriff's office, is, providing the employees, or overseers, to provide the employees. Would it be possible, instead of having that, all of that, to hiring a couple vet techs who are actually probably cheaper than a sheriff's deputy, a sheriff's deputy, so that could help the sheriff's department in the long run to be involved in the running of the program over there, so that they have that health component, but they also have people that, A, would have a smaller salary, and two, it would be more involved in the care of the animals, and what that could be more helpful, and it would help the sheriff's department with things they need, because they're shorthanded anyway. I didn't know where that would go in your agenda, I just thought to bring it up.
If I could say this first, Lieutenant Matthews, that is a question that it's been going around and around this committee for a while, and I know it's going to come up during the meeting in April, and so I would like experts to address what the best way to do that is, and then listen to the sheriff's department on
Okay.
why they can or can't do that. But along those lines, I had a question that is similar in nature with regards to the training that you said is provided by all the is provided for all of the animal control officers. It was $10,000 a piece to send them like to Texas or something to get fully trained up on
They
this,
go,
right?
these modules are all over the United States. Sometimes they're in Texas, sometimes they may be in Kentucky, Chicago, Illinois, and they only have a set number
Right.
available in a year. And so whenever and you gotta go through module A, B, and C in order to complete the full training, so you'd be certified animal control officer and cruelty investigator.
Who all is trained as animal control officers in the sheriff's department?
The three that we've got assigned over there right now, Lieutenant Tarlack, which would be for the overseer. The ones that still have the certification is myself. The prior overseer, Sergeant Ryan, still has his certifications. Steve McNeil and Mr. Bronner has his certifications. Glenn Baum has his certifications.
These are prior people that have served
That
in
is
animal
correct.
control.
And what's happened is most of your animal control officers will be over there for a assigned period of time. Just like when I offered, when the situation came up for me and I went over there, it was with the understanding that I just couldn't request a transfer out or anything for 3 to 5 years. Why is that? Well, it costs you training, number one. They don't want to train you and then 2 years later put
Lose a man
you
that
over
just
here,
got-
and now they've got to train somebody else. So they want some time.
I'm sorry,
in.
can we point of order, because we're off agenda? If we're gonna, I mean,
Policies and procedures.
Well, I was
We're on the
asking about the
training.
training. Is that actually in here?
no, I'm
I
sorry.
figured that goes under policy.
That's
Okay,
policy
policy.
procedure.
That's
Okay.
why I was asking for policy and
Policy,
procedure, because
okay.
it's about who is in charge of the animals and what kind of people do
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry.
for
I thought we
policies.
were on policies now. I'm sorry.
No, that's the only way I thought it would fit with her question. No, she's fair point to ask that question we try to operate under Robert's Rules of Order, just so everybody knows. But it's the best place that I see that it will fit, unless you see a different place that may fit in here.
No, I'm
was
just
trying to-
anxious to get to team shelter, I'm sorry.
If part
Right.
of part of that training is euthanization, are they,
Correct.
Yes.
so wouldn't it be better to have a veterinarian, full-time vet? to
And we can
perform?
discuss that
Yeah,
in
which,
detail.
when we go into that.
So.
Go ahead, sir.
No, I mean, I wanted to ask that because my line of questioning was gonna lead to if, the sheriff's department was not doing animal control and it was done by a private, would they also have to go through the same training, to your knowledge?
That
or
would be up,
anybody else
they
that knows
should,
this?
but that will be up to whoever's running the facility.
Well, to
but
be able
you
to
would-
do what you do as far as go out and
Yes,
take an
they should.
animal and,
Yes.
an aggressive
And
animal
if people was out,
problem or.
yeah.
I don't think, I think you have, the sheriff's department's got on cruelties, a private citizen can't do that. I mean, as far as.
Well,
the
that part
euthanasia,
of it, but
It's
just running the
field
They're
shelter.
certified, but.
You
I
still
mean,
need to be certified, officer with this training
Right,
to be there.
for the
Yes,
euthanasia.
ma'am.
you're talking
Yes,
about.
ma'am.
Right.
I'm not talking about the euthanasia, I'm talking about just going out and handling a call.
Yes.
Where you
Oh, yeah.
have an issue with an animal in
Cars
the
on
park
the-
that's
yeah.
terrorizing people. and
Right,
you-
sheriff's department.
That's field operations.
But that's sheriff's department, what entity, if they were not running animal control, would it just be a regular deputy, would there be a catch pole somewhere that they would use, or would it be the sheriff's department being on site supervising somebody that is a trained person with a
That's
catch
for
pole
the
to go
county
handle
to make
that?
that determination and the sheriff to decide if he's going to operate under those conditions. And again, we said it, the sheriff has full control of animal control as a courtesy and everything.
Correct. I mean,
We're
to get
here.
to
May
my
I-
point,
We're
to my
here.
point is about the level of the training,
Right.
the cost.
I
want to know
would
that it's
recommend,
the
I would
right-
recommend people be trained, yes. The more training you can have,
Oh, I would too.
the better you are.
Yeah.
But again, if the sheriff's office is not going to be involved in the actual running of the shelter, then,
Yeah, I don't want to discuss that.
yeah, it will be whoever's
So-
over that, running the shelter for their policies and procedures and training and stuff like that. That would be on them.
But the sheriff's department would still always have to be some kind of a
Yes,
part of
because-
any call, so.
Well, yeah, because we have to go out and we have to investigate the calls, the cruelty calls or whatever calls that come about. That falls on the sheriff's office, law enforcement. So we're the ones that have to go out there. A private citizen doesn't have the authority.
Right.
To do that.
I was trying to figure out the training and the $10,000 worth of training, why that was, needed, and you helped with that.
Oh, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Right, for a private citizen cannot go on someone's property, so that would have to be the sheriff's department for cruelties. But a private citizen, if you see an animal running at large, people pick up animals all the time.
Sure, sure.
And surrender them, so,
I was talking about extreme
that's how a lot of
cases and
our
what
animals-
a lot of this training would be.
Yeah, but again, as far as the euthanasia, it's a week-long course, you take it, you get certified. So I don't know how much just it's been years since I took it, so I don't know how much that course is, but it's not, that much.
It
But what
varies
you
on
all
who's
do-
putting it on.
What you all do, all the officer training is a lot more expensive.
Commissioner Boyd?
So I just wanted to address a couple of things. So I've been going through the regulations and the TCA and stuff. And so the sheriff's department does currently control animal control. However, that authority does reside with the commission. So we have never clearly, and if that's something we want to do, we can make a resolution, but we've never done that. So we've just, this is the path we've taken. And I don't know when Team Shelter comes in, if they're going to give other options on the floor, but as speaking from what it says in the TCA and stuff, if the commission wants to form a formal resolution, they probably need to clear that up and go forward with it, but it'll be something that'll need to be addressed.
If I may, we need to check that because my understanding when it was turned over to the sheriff's office, the county exec was the one that's in charge of animal control at that time. It did go through the commission and the commission voted to turn it over to the sheriff's office.
And I've went through, and I've been trying to find it.
Yeah, it
I have.
happened. I was there. I was happened to be the commissioner.
That would be
at the time.
awesome, if you could find that, because
I'll have to be
the
the
county
commissioner
clerk
at the
I
time.
was
can't.
there.
Was you there?
I mean,
There
I
has
Oh,
know
to be a
the county did
resolution.
vote. Yeah,
There
there
has
was
to be a
Excellent.
resolution.
a Safe Place for Animals tried to contract out.
You
and
wanted to
the-
contract?
Right, and then the sheriff's department, the county did vote.
Do you know what year it happened? Because the clerk didn't find it.
2000.
2008.
8, okay. They may not have went back far enough.
I may have it
Like
somewhere.
Sheriff's Office took over November the 8th, 2008.
2008.
I
Oh, I want to see
remember
that
very well
resolution.
because we walked into a rat hole.
I heard that was,
It was awful.
Mr. Sopa, did you
Yeah,
have
they
a
I mean, a
question?
literal rat hole.
They left
We in
it
the
for you
queue.
for all week.
Yeah, I'm in the queue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a matter of when you're getting all documentation, which we always have to do, and I'm a pretty big stickler on that, would be to get the, whatever that resolution was, because again, TCA, I've read that as well, and I'll concur with the county commissioner. But what I think is happening here is that, in fact, the speaker, private citizen Kathy, thank you very much, spoke about animal control, and there seems to be, even in MAC, there is field operation, and then there's the assign of the shelter. And there's a lane of which, of course, they do all the exceptional work with the law enforcement, engaging with the citizens. That's a field operation component. And then there's the shelter component, which is third party, and that's how Nashville Metro Animal Control functions. So I see a lot of that modeling. So that's why what you're hearing tonight is that particular modeling as opposed of all under one. So that is like siloed out.
Thank you for bringing that point up.
Just so you know.
Just to circle back, I wanted to make sure it's clear at this table, it's not my intention to even go down that rabbit hole right now for taking anything away or anything. Although
No.
that paperwork would be helpful because things have been done by previous administrations wrong. I'd like to know that this one was done right and see the resolution that did it. But my intent was, if you guys are spending $10,000 per deputy for training for animal control officers, and then the staff that is not going out and catching stray animals, the ones that are back at the facility, I know this is going to come up next month. Could we do more with regular people, citizens working in there versus trustees versus having deputies that are stationed there at that home base and not going out and getting animals, just making the most use of the money that we have, because we all know that the budget is a key ingredient to this, and making the best care for the animals possible with what we got. Was there any other questions on this topic? Okay, we'll move on to the veterinarian contract. So a few comments people have made about vet techs possibly filling in the interim between the veterinarian that is hard to come by, and seems like we can only get somebody to come once or twice a week at the most. That's something that just keeps on coming up that I think will be a good one to ask next month. So I don't have a lot to say on that, but that was the one thing that was on my mind that I want to leave on here for discussion for at least for next month. I don't want to roll it off and bring it right back again. If anybody else has any comments to make about 7B, now be the time. Go ahead, Ms. Donna.
When was the last time that the veterinarian even came? You know, my biggest concern is, that comes out is the care, that they get the care they need. So, you know, and I had recommended maybe the vet tech come in and replace that salary for the veterinarian that isn't coming. And that way the animals get vaccinated on intake, defleed.
A vet tech can't vaccinate on intake.
Yeah, if it's a.
I want to take this time, I'm going to take this time just to remind the public that we do Robert's Rules of Orders. No offense to anybody in the crowd, but this is what public comments is for, and then we handle the meeting up front.
I'm sorry, I
Ma'am,
saw it on Facebook, I didn't know what it was about.
I understand. It's a learning thing for everybody. The first time they come, and we've had to do this many times, and the first time I was here, myself, I had to be reminded of that too. So I'm telling everybody just now, and it's No offense to you, just.
Oh, that's fine. Can I sign up?
Not now.
Okay,
For next
'cause I got a lot
For
to
next
say.
time, I'm sure you do, and I'll be available afterwards to listen
Okay,
to, so.
let's talk.
No, sure.
You know, again, of course, the tech is not allowed to do a rabies shot, that type thing, but,
Comments to the chair. Sure, comments to the chair.
right. The vet tech couldn't do the rabies shots, but that's something that once they do go get spayed, and we also recommended maybe they could prepay with their own veterinarian, since we're having trouble getting appointments at spay neuter, if they could prepay for a spay or neuter. Just, the biggest thing is get them vetted, get a weight on them when they come in, who's able to do that. I know they get their paperwork done and get everything processed, and they get put in a kennel, but then who weighs them? Who does the care? That's my question.
Well, let's ask the first question first. When was the last time the vet came?
I would have to check, it's probably this week, this being Tuesday, so he may have came today, I don't know, I'm not over there, that's a question that I can find out.
How often do you check in with them? Yeah.
Well, through Danny Hurst, which is Captain Hurst, who is over Lieutenant Tarlacki, and I was just over at Animal Control yesterday myself, speaking with Lieutenant Tarlacki on some issues that thought maybe would come up during this, so we would be prepared to have some.
I know it's very difficult to get the answers we want when we want them, since you're not there actively. You have to go get answers when we ask
Yes,
them and then report back a month later.
Yes.
It would be very helpful if we could ask for a special guest appearance of Lieutenant Tarlacki to show up in April
I agree.
when Team Shelter is here.
I agree.
Would that be possible?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes, that would be
That would be
possible.
great. All right, awesome. Did you have any other questions, just straight up questions for, is it still tracking about once, twice a week that you know of?
Yes, sir.
Is it leaning more towards once or twice?
Like I said, the original agreement between was twice a week, and then he's on call. Then when we went into COVID and doing all that, and nobody was showing up, and if he could not come down, he would let us know, and then he would come down on a Saturday, or try to come down on a Saturday or another day. Sometimes he had both his other vets call out sick, and he was the only vet at his station, at his practice. So again, we was more of a veterinarian consultant type, especially for the money that you was paying. You can't take $25,000 a year, or close to 26. A vet doesn't even talk to you.
But even in his job description, it says he would do vaccines, and he hasn't been,
He has done vaccines.
for extra charge.
No, it wasn't a part of the original agreement, correct?
Yeah, we gotta iron that part out.
Yes.
And you're talking about money.
I know.
And I will reiterate to this board again that we went to every vet in Sumner County, reached out to Davidson County, reached out to Middle Tennessee. No one wanted to come and be a vet
Because of our track
in our
record.
shelter, because we have prosecuted, probable cause exists, 2 different vets because of euthanasia, improper procedures. Let me put it that way. One was convicted, the other one was not. And that's where we're at. But the probable cause exists, and when we try to do things as they're supposed to be done, and we're not going to let anything slide, especially if it's a violation of the law. And no vet wants to be a part of that.
That's why I
Because
think-
if they make a mistake and we're there and we see it, we're going to call it.
That's why I think a very huge part of this policy and procedure revamp has got to be recourse for both the veterinarian if they see something wrong, and for you guys if you see something wrong. It cannot be that you guys talk to each other. There's got to be a third neutral party that they can report to hold each other accountable, so that they feel that it's fair if they come into a situation, because I
Well, we
understand them
reported
being
to the
gun
sheriff.
shy.
We reported to the sheriff, and the sheriff is the one in charge that's responsible for that facility.
I know.
And he takes it and directs what we should do from there.
Right, I know you guys got oversight over them, but they don't have oversight and no way to report if they don't like what's going on either. So it's gotta go both ways. That, I just hope Team Shelter can give some answers in that area, and I realize it's a difficult place for everybody.
But if we want to take and call Dr. Cole into this organization, if he would come talk, he will tell you about
He's
animal
our
control and
current vet,
everything,
right?
And everything went over in animal control.
He's the one that was there, he's not well.
He's not well right
He's not
now.
well.
But I'm just saying that he told us time and time again that we was doing all we could with what we had,
I
what we've
understand.
been provided.
Yes, Mr. Silva.
Okay, I have a couple of very quick questions. Well, I think part of the difficulty is that if you have a verbal agreement, you can't compel anyone to anything. And the use of, again, I'll just reiterate, the use of public money, there should never ever be a verbal agreement. Everything has to be done in writing. Matter of public record, because the public under FOIA can examine these things. And so that is a misstep that should be course corrected, in my opinion, very expeditiously. So knowing that there's an unmet need with the veterinarian, I think my overarching question would be, is anybody actively searching? We're at a 4-week gap. I mean, unfortunately, I'll concur with you. It is not ideal, because if, is it Sergeant Tarlacki? Lieutenant, did I give him a higher grade?
No, you're fine.
Is that good?
That's what he is.
And I love him. He's wonderful, and I met him, and very knowledgeable. And the beauty of that is you can get access to intelligence in real time from someone who's always in the front line. So it would be wonderful if he could be also, and I love you too, I think you're awesome, but to have him participate as well to fill in some of the gaps so that we're not having this delay. But over the last 4 weeks, and Diane also mentioned this, is the unmet need of a full-time veterinarian. I think that's also huge. I'm hearing from also a citizen where you have an animal control director, full-time veterinarian, vet techs, and you have volunteers underneath, et cetera. Those are really everything that I'm seeing in research is what good looks like. So is there an active search as we speak? Because we know what's happening right now isn't working. So is anybody actively searching for a veterinarian at this moment? And
With the funding that we have, there's not. So
can we look at a state? I mean, things of that nature.
We're,
Indeed or whatever.
if they come more often, the salary's gonna go up. Outside of budget cycle, that's probably not going to happen. Until that gets looked at in budget cycle, there can be no extra looking for more time for a vet. I just know how that's gonna go.
Well, what about, you're spending
I want it.
2,000 plus a month, and if a veterinarian's either not showing or not fulfilling whatever was agreed upon, then there's monies to be.
That's the better
had.
question, is
So-
are we getting out of it what we contracted? And that's a fair question.
And an examination of monies and where it's going, et cetera, is imperative to know,
Sure.
are those monies going where they need to go, or are we not spending them properly because,
Sure, and that's a fair
Very little's
question to
going
ask
in.
for a schedule of visits over the last 6 months or 3 months. Or I don't know who was first, y'all be honest.
and we shouldn't be surprised
Go
because it's a verbal
I
agreement.
have a question.
Go ahead.
On the veterinarian side of it. Who is the veterinarian for the, do you all still have your horses, your
Sheriff's
We did
supply
all.
horses.
horses?
We do it all. Any
Okay.
kind of livestock, horses, goats,
Okay, my
whatever.
question is, who is the veterinarian that handles those animals?
The same as at the shelter, unless they need further immediate care.
I think she's talking about the sheriff's department
Dr.
horses.
Miller.
The mounted
Who
patrol
manages
that you
their,
guys have.
We don't have
animal?
that.
We don't have animal
We don't
control.
have animal
Hendersonville
control.
Police Department's gonna handle
Okay,
animal
so
control.
what I'm asking though, I know we have, bloodhounds, we use.
Those are private contractors.
Okay, so that eliminates that question. So, my question, because we're
Good
going
thought.
around in circles about this vet, and so, I understand about funding. Of course, we blow through money all the time through the county on all kinds of things, so I think it needs to be, some more laser focus on things that the people care about, actually.
Mhm.
I
So,
don't disagree.
would it be possible to submit to the budget committee, possibly getting a salary for a full-time veterinarian? Could we recommend that?
I think definitely after Team Shelter comes, that's probably gonna be one of the first recommendations, but it's something that we would definitely be interested to look at for sure.
Okay.
Chief
Yes,
Craddock
go ahead.
has put that in his upcoming budget.
Okay, great. So that answers my question.
I think it's
Who
me.
was first?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Stein. You're not.
I
Oh, yes,
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 go
yes.
ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
So I did talk to Dr. Sarah from Team Shelter, and I was just sharing with Ms. DeSoto here the book, and it's really great. They've got a lot of great ideas in there on how we can go about finding vets in our community, and they're going to bring to us a lot of great ideas, such as with vets that are starting up, and as our community's growing, I'm sure we've all noticed all the new vets, and they are expensive, but what we can deliver, and what this book tells me, is we can deliver them future customers. And we can negotiate discounts and future customers. And they've been successful. It's taken a while in some of their success stories and some of the communities that have tried these approaches to get it actually rolling out, but once it gets rolling and the vets start talking about it, it becomes like a growing thing, and we can fulfill that need and also help the new businesses in our community. So Team Shelter's got some great ideas, and talking to her in their book, and I'm really excited, and I'm excited to get to the part we get to talk about. So
Me too.
I think that'll be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I just want to say, everybody keeps talking about the active looking, and just for myself, trying to find a veterinarian, I mean, it's been over a year, and I finally found one 2 days a week. And so it's not that they're not trying. I mean, it's just hard to find a vet, and especially to come in one that wants to do shelter medicine. And I know they have good ideas, you know, different things, but to actually have one that comes into the shelter is just
More difficult than private practice.
Yeah, I mean, you can offer all the money you want. I mean, it's still.
They're not gonna wanna work off a county salary.
Well, I mean, even if they're offered a lot, it's still hard to find a vet that, you know, I mean, like I said, the Spaniard's paying $1,300 a day for, you know, and it's just hard to, and then she cut back because she wanted to do something else. I mean, you know, I don't know where all the vets are, but I know that is a real struggle. And that's why I would think, you know, again, if we could in the interim work with some vet techs that can just do the initial vetting and then try to work with different vets in the community to do the spay neuters.
If we could see the salary, the contract is not being met, like it was supposed to be, I think Deputy Chief Craddock was saying up to 2 times a week was the contract. But oftentimes it was just 1 time a week. If there is a shortfall in the salary, I wonder if we could fill in with a vet tech, but that means that vet is probably not going to be happy about getting his salary cut, and it's already low as is.
Does the veterinarian do telemedicine with animals? Because
No.
you can do, I mean,
We want him on scene so he can actually see the animals.
Can you ask if that veterinarian can send somebody in his stead if he's not available, like a vet tech?
We can
from
ask,
his-
but ladies and gentlemen, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
you're talking $26,000. He don't have to do it. He can make that off of a few set animals that comes into his facility, right? He's not doing it for the money. He's doing it, number one, it took me 3.5 months in talking to him to get him to finally to go on and agree to help us, right? But he's doing it because he wants to help. The salary is bare minimum. You can't even pay a consultant sometimes. They want more than $25,000 a year to be a consultant for any business. So we got what we did for the funds that we had available, bottom line. And I understand that this $3.6 million for this place in Chattanooga, that's a long way from $600,000 that we're working off of. If you give us $3.6 million, we'll have the best, I guarantee you, the Sheriff's Office have the best facility in the state of Tennessee, if not the United States, just like Chattanooga.
Sure.
Because it takes money to provide things that are needed, okay? And I will wait until we talk to Team Shelter to go on and reference the vet situations and things that came directly from Sarah, who's going to be ahead of our evaluation, and tell you exactly what came from her mouth and what is being experienced across the whole United States of America. And when we get to there, I'll be glad to cover that then.
Sure.
But again, he is helping us out, and he has done a lot of things that he hadn't charged us any extra for at times that is needed. We spent, there was 1 month that was December, Chief Craddock said we spent over $10,000 in vet care on that month. And it's just like this last month, I'll just say it here because it all kind of goes in. In a 35-day period, the shelter took in 141 animals in 35 days. And then they want to talk about, we have 50 euthanizations. Okay,
What do you attribute
and
that
I've
to?
got every one of those euthanizations right here that was provided and the reason why the animals was euthanized, and all of it was for cause. It's just not because, oh, we got to, it's just space. Each one of these animals had problems and different things along that we chose to do that. But when you're taking 141 animals in 35 days,
Can you attribute anything to that? What happened during that 35
it's
days?
the economy.
Something strange? Or?
It's the economy. People are not able to pay for that, pay for vet bills. They can't do it anymore. And so the mass of turning animals in. Stray animals are coming in because people are turning them loose. They won't even come and take them in. So when those animals are recalled and we have to take those animals in our possession, we don't have the facility to house that many animals, plus the other animals that we already have. We just don't have the facility.
Mrs. Silva.
A couple of quick things. If my memory serves me, and I was looking at some of the monies, you mentioned Hendersonville. Is Hendersonville paying the $10,000 that they're supposed to pay? Well, then that in itself is a
How
problem,
long
because I
has
think
that
there are a
been?
couple of,
They stopped doing that a
I
while
thought
ago.
they paid 30,000.
No, they stopped doing any contribution a long time ago, and the reason for that, my understanding, the sheriff could definitely speak better to it than probably I can, but my understanding was Portland, Westmoreland, Goodlettsville, White House, a portion thereof, they wasn't having to pay anything. So Hendersonville said, we're not gonna pay. And now you also look at what the city of Hendersonville and those other cities get for their tax dollars that they spend. The sheriff viewed it as they pay taxes in Sumner County, and so the services will be there if they need it.
Can I ask you what document tied them to that to $10,000?
$10,000. It was an agreement made
When?
before I came there, because that's when I came there. They had already said we're not going to pay that $10,000.
Only
And that's
Hendersonville?
between Hendersonville, the city council of Hendersonville, and the county commission. Hendersonville is the one they weren't going to pay.
Did that have to do with the fact that they have that Humane Society down there and
no.
Nobody
we
else was
took it
paying.
over or
Nobody
anything
else
like
was
that?
paying.
Or
Nobody else was paying.
were they supposed to? Other people?
No.
Gosh, I'd like to see.
Only Hendersonville was supposed to.
See, Hendersonville didn't have a place to put any animals. They got a small place now, which is the old police department that they use as a temporary, a day or two holding place. If they can't make it up and bring all the animals up that they collect, they got a space over there. But like I said, as every city and government agency do, when they look to save money and how can we save money and cut, well, if they're not doing it, then why are we doing it? We can save $10,000 a year, and so basically that's what happened.
You should have ordered me because I broke.
That's
into you.
okay. Yeah,
Finish that.
This
Sorry.
is
Go ahead.
it's very disappointing that Hendersonville has done that, but typically there should be moving documents that should have been brought to the Board of Mayor and
Yes,
Aldermen,
we need to
all of
figure
those
that
things.
out.
So I'd like to see if we can have that, all those paid
Is it a
back.
binding document? Yes.
There should be binding agreements, always, again, public monies, public record, and always through the boards, because sometimes protocols are not even done, and some things are done here, but not through the
Hendersonville
legislative
owes the
body.
county a lot
It
of
happens,
money for a lot of
unfortunately, with
different
City of
things, so-
Hendersonville, and I can attest to that, that does happen. So I'm gonna try to see if we can get that $10,000 and do it properly if
Y'all
it's
won't get it.
possible.
I can tell you right now, they will not contribute because they don't have funding. They just had to do a sales tax increase in order to find funding for the police and fire in another situation
And
because they don't have
parks.
any money.
Yeah, and I know that, we say that, but a lot of times there's an examination of budgets, and I've seen things where, and we talk about that too, where things go out the window and they don't need to be, so.
I understand.
But there's also the discussion about Hendersonville has horses, someone has to be caring for them, right? If there's animals, then there has to be some
They're
veterinarian
from the city.
and then maybe speak to the city and speak with that veterinarian to assist and facilitate. They may have a contractual agreement, and maybe in lieu of not paying, we could probably get some funding or assistance, but there may be some ways to work within this structure. I'm just throwing out
Yeah, come one day
some
a week and-
ideas
Come one day a week and pay their debt off.
possible. You see what I'm saying? But that's, again, it's better than zero. I'm trying to throw out some creative things
But
in
again, the
lieu of what we're
10,000
finding
is
out.
history, it was voted on, my understanding was it was voted on and they elected not to pay that anymore, and that's the end of the story.
It's a large city.
Yeah, it was more, I don't want to misspeak, but the records are there. It may have been handled in their not donations, but charitable contributions that they used to do, the senior citizens and all that. That's probably where it was, and they saw a way that they could save 10,000, and that's what they did.
I have one more
Yeah,
thing,
Yeah,
very
finish
quickly.
your thing, and I'm gonna go.
One more
to
thing.
Commissioner Janelle.
What we lack, and again, we've talked about grant money and things of that nature, we should establish as soon as possible a Friends of Sumner County, so we can have corporate contributions. There are corporations that donate. We're losing ability to get funding from outside sources that do these things.
I know
So
the team shelter's gonna
that
address
will
that.
be, so, because we're talking about the monies and that.
Yes.
I don't want to miss mentioning that
Sure.
again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Janelle.
The sheriff brought up a good point about the economy and the fact that people are unable to food and all that. Because for me, I know how expensive it is to feed my golden retriever. And, you know, that can be very taxing on people that don't, A, have real good jobs, and B, they're maybe older, retired people. Is there any way that this group, all of our citizens, I mean, I am just overwhelmed with, you have no idea how overwhelmed with joy I am that you are here, because I love animals.
It's the most
But-
popular committee in town.
But how can we create a food bank for animals? You know, we have food banks for people, but we forget that people, you know, why can't we have a food bank for animals? And is there a way that we can make that happen?
Well, we are a food bank, I mean, we have Safe Place for Animals,
I think it's about people not knowing.
Yes, PSAs.
You can go ahead and announce that now for public record, anybody
Oh,
watching
God.
this from home.
Well, no, I mean, most, all of our food is donated, so and our dogs cats eat a specific thing, so our excess, we help people with
I
dog,
mean,
cats.
is there,
anything.
like.
There's no requirement, you just come.
I know there's food banks that are storefront kind of food banks that you can go into. Is there any way that we can have a campaign on having a food bank in that area where people can actually know a place to go to get dog food or cat food? I mean, it's kind of like we're beating a dead horse here, so to speak, because we have issues that are creating this problem, but we have these over here that we're trying to maintain, and it's like we're chasing our tail constantly. So,
Well, I think the sheriff, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The sheriff's department also has, they give food out.
What we do,
When you have extra.
when we have extra, we can't give pedigree away because that's part of the contract. But other food that are good citizens come and donate, or say they're animals, they bring them in and say, well, you know, my pet died, but I still have this food that it's not open. Don't want to take it if it's been open because you don't know what's been in that food, so don't want to give that to somebody. But if we got bags that are secured or they have a little tear or something on them, then the people that come donate that, we use that food and we'll give it out to somebody that come and ask. We've had several people come and ask, and if we got it, we'll give it. If we don't, then we'll tell them what we don't at this particular point in time.
What I'm gonna do is, get us back on track, because it's not on the
Sure.
agenda. But I am adding that,
Policies
and
about that.
I'm gonna see if we can add that
Yeah,
to next month's agenda
definitely.
Okay.
to address that when we talk about, best practices and things we can do to improve.
and maybe,
And-
I see great posts out there on the meetings, maybe somebody could post, if anyone in the community has ideas or willing to champion this, please come and, you
That's
know.
where I was gonna go next.
Yeah.
Hopefully, April will be a well-attended meeting. We plan to have it in the chambers. And, interested parties from other facilities and stuff around the county can come and share ideas, possibly in public comments, make announcements. If they have food banks, if they wanna partner, they can get together and do some kind of collaboration for that at that time. But I'm gonna add that to next month's agenda.
There's a way to push out this intelligence, because it seems like the public really doesn't know. I know we could do next door, things of that nature.
These are our soldiers right
But,
here.
yeah.
Anybody is free to talk about anything happens in
Gotta
this
get that
meeting,
out
to
there.
get the information out. to your friends, to your personal vets, to your places that you go to?
County
that are-
website, I mean, we have a big thing like that, just
Yeah.
when they open it
And
up.
bring 5 friends to the April 2nd. They're gonna have questions and answers, and hopefully try and they go nationwide. They may have solutions already that someone else has had. So if you bring your questions and answers,
Okay.
they can help us.
And it's still the-
Discussion on current contract, we kind
We just did
of
that.
dabbled
We
in
did
that
that.
a little bit, so we're gonna go on to new business. Discussion on examination of trustees, pros and cons. This is a question that kept coming up, and I just wanted to put it on here to just give you a little leeway to explain the pros of the trustees, because I know the citizens have complained and showed a lot of cons to what the trickiness of having a trustee, a convict in there, you know. So can you talk a little bit about the pros of having the trustees in
Yeah,
there?
I can tell you, the pros, the main thing, the reason, it's unpaid labor. Bottom line, unpaid and labor. If you had to hire, with the facility, a 10,000 square foot facility is what we've got. We've got upwards of 10 trustees that are working clean, doing everything that needs to be done over there. If you had to pay 10 employees to come in there, it's not in the budget. If you know, you're talking everybody's minimum wage now, especially in old good old California, where they're gonna pop it up to $20 an hour. It's just, you know, say we pay somebody $15 an hour, good wage, right? To come in there, so that's 10 people at $15 an hour and 8 hours a day, but we're 7 days a week. So we would have to cover 7 days a week, because there's not a day that go by that you don't have to tend to the animals and care for them and feed them and clean. Every day is a day. But anyway, so time you talk about paying them and the benefits and the matching Social Security and all that, everything that you gotta do as a business, you're talking about a whole lot of money. So, we've got trustees. So how does it benefit by having the trustees over there? Well, money, number one. Number two, it gives them an opportunity to get out of confinement and to care for a living being, someone else.
A little bit therapy for
Okay.
them.
So it's good therapy for them. They get involved. They get attached to these animals. And when you get attached to an animal, then you're even more caring for that animal, because you got a vested interest in that animal. Now you got a connection with that animal. So it's good therapy for them. They get out of the facility that they're incarcerated in. They're classified as a trustee, meaning they haven't been. They go through a vetting process that the sheriff and his staff does in order to make trustee. So after they go through that vetting process, they get over here. Now, trustees will be trustees, right? They're in jail for a reason, right? So we have to have our people that try to keep a close eye on them while they're already there, because they will have, you know, this isn't pros, but they will have drop-offs and different things that we'll do from the general public that comes in, and we've got no way really to control that, so that's the reason why we have to get everybody's identification when they're coming into the facility, so we know who's coming and going. And we made several cases off that by being able to take that with the time and date that they was there and connect them back to the trustee that was there and when they dropped something off. So that's the reason why we ask everybody's identification, because we've got prisoners, we've got trustees in the facility. But the main pros is, like I said, it doesn't cost you anything, and it's therapy for them. That's your pros.
So-
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I just had a
No,
question.
go ahead. Yes, sir.
So we heard on public comments, was it last month or the previous month, that a trustee was actually walking somebody through for an adoption to show them animals. Is that commonplace?
It
That
shouldn't
happens?
be. All I can do is testify that when I was over there, we didn't allow that contact to happen unless we had a staff member with them. But just them and being with the trustee going on, but no, that should happen. And if or when that does happen, then we need the information so that we can go and look into it and correct it. That's the reason The sheriff and the deputy chief both have stated any complaint or things that someone doesn't feel is proper or right, they've been there, they saw this, they didn't think it's right. If they will address them through the sheriff's office, then the sheriff's office will look into those.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is this, I don't understand the trustee program. If there's a certain level that you can get to, maybe you're a short timer and you're, 2 weeks from getting out and you graduate to this level of trust to where you are allowed to be with the public.
No,
and-
they're not supposed to have one-on-one public contact.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's possible that is happening, is there a way we can collaborate with volunteers who would also be free labor? That could
Volunteers
do
is
similar
wonderful
things.
if volunteers
but-
show up. And when the weather is snow on the ground and it's this thing, then nobody can move, we still gotta have people clean those kennels. We still gotta provide the food for the animals and stuff. So that's another reason for the trustees to come in. Volunteers are nice, volunteers are not dependable. Bottom line, they're not dependable. You got a few core that will bend over backwards and be there, and you got some that want to be, but when something else comes up or something happens, they can't be there.
I can't argue with you on that because I don't know. I've just heard a lot of pushback that if volunteers were allowed, that you'd be overwhelmed with volunteers. And so I thought it worth asking, worth mentioning, and maybe that's question we can ask
That
Team
sounds-
Shelter.
But
They can
that's-
talk about
right, again.
what
But
trend
that's something-
is with the practices.
That's something, if you're gonna have the
However that's
volunteers
done.
over there, then you're probably gonna have to do away with the trustees.
Right, that's
Because
why I'm
you don't wanna,
asking.
you don't wanna mix them.
Right, that's why I'm asking. So, go ahead, Mrs. Sopo.
If I might, I just want to say, there's some things definitely that when we talk about this, I do love to look into deep dives, do my own research as well. Some things I actually found on bona fide journal articles, which I will be happy to share with our team here. And the effects of dog-based animal-assisted intervention in the prison population is a systematic review. There are some very positive things that come out of the engagement of inmate population and dogs. They'll go into, sometimes they have vocational and educational components within it. They'll improve anxiety, stress, recidivism. One study showed that typically more than 26% will come back, but when they did these type of programs, it went down to 5%. However, I might say that the models are, it's the facility, say the correctional facility, the animals, select animals, and programs are designed where they're actually going to the facility with the inmates. They're with them for weeks at a time. I try to find models out there that we have where it's unfortunate because you need to have public engagement heavily because we're trying to rehome these animals. So the programs that are designed, which will probably be more downstream as we work through this process, they have programs where they're going to the facility itself. And every one that I've picked up, 10-week programs, and there's inmates that will have to qualify to do that. They found that males actually do better than females. It calms them down. Typically, that's the type of thing in all the literature that I'm finding. Also, Maggie's, which gave us the grant, thankfully, and I'm so grateful to them for Team Shelter.
Could you
This
announce
was
what
on
the
their
grant was
site.
for, just for public record?
What was that?
Maggie's, what the grant was for?
Maggie's, it's the Maggie's Pet Challenge was the actual grant provider so that Team Shelter could come, because Team Shelter could either do it, you pay them to do it, or you could apply for a grant through Maggie's Pet Challenge, which is amazing. And so this was actually on their site through the commentaries regarding prison and inmate programs. But again, these programs are actually at the correctional facility. They work with the animals, get them ready for adoption. There's also cat programs and other programs with, especially cats, because they're easier. The inmates can get a cat. And what they wind up doing is they get the cats, they take good care of them. Instead of them being euthanized, they have a place to live. And then the inmates, as they're working, they're using the little money they have to get them their toys, their beds. They have a bond. So contrary to what people may think with inmates and animals, they do well. But in our dynamic, and in my opinion, The difficulty is that they're merged into one, where you can't have necessarily the public interaction, which is a necessity to get animals adopted, because if they can't see them, or there are just restrictions just when they come in, and that experience, well, then maybe the use of inmates and how we have them, and Team Shelter may probably go through that too, because everything that I'm finding is speaking to that, will be here in this dynamic with these tried and true programs, even within these. This is a bona fide study in PubMed, and you can find actual, randomized control studies, and they did a whole systemic review. And of that review, you have to also be very judicious, because only about 10 of them were really controlled, so you can get a good idea, because there's a lot of diversity and things that can happen between studies. So they were only able to do a carve out. So some things are still in the investigative works, but these are the things that I'm finding. And they may echo that through Team Shelter USA. Oh, one other quick thing. I think this is something we probably should talk about too. When inmates get incarcerated, they have pets. And sadly, many of them, they have no place to go. They'll get into shelters. We may have opportunities to find engagement that if there is someone who's incarcerated, sometimes for just weeks, you don't want them to lose their pets. So if we don't have anything in that nature, that might be something that would be well worthwhile. Again, the goal is to keep animals from going into shelters to begin with. And there's probably quite a few, because they have some data sets here too. So that's something else I'd like to raise in this ad hoc committee, that if we're not doing that, ways in which we can either foster temporarily while they're incarcerated or find homes for them. Very touching stories that you'll find. So hopefully these things will help as we start figuring out how can we best use our trustees in the inmate population. Thank you.
But the main thing for the inmates is saving the cost.
And, well,
That's your major thing.
but the cost up front, if they're only getting pennies, that's an upfront cost, because
No, I'm talking about the cost to hire.
the cost of the
personnel
if
to
you're
come in to
right.
replace.
But then there might be a wash, because if you're looking at upfront, like if I'm paying these individuals pennies or $1 an hour, whatever it might be,
We're not
because
paying
it's,
them anything.
or even if it's zero, but then I have to look at the other costs on the other side. You'll have to have deputies to oversee. That costs money, unfunded liability, salaries, etc., to oversee. Then you have a van that you've got to pay, gas, mileage to and from, time and motion studies. You'll say free here, but free is not over here. So as you start doing a carve out and doing actual costs, you'll have to factor in cost of the van, cost of the hours back and forth, cost of the inability to have volunteers, which is also a cost to factor in. So we can say on the surface it's free, but then you look over here and you may find that the costs, that there is not a big cost savings.
Go
Just
ahead, Diane.
just for the,
Well, I'm not one that's for trustees, but I also know, I mean, I've run a shelter for 30-something years. Volunteers are not gonna come and knock you down. I mean, you'll have a good core group of volunteers, but you can't depend on that. And there's also a liability in that, because, you've got all different kinds of animals. You might have feral cats, you might have aggressive dogs, so you can't put, Susie in the back with the big dog kennels. So, in theory, all this sounds good, but until you've actually run a physical shelter, and again, everybody gets bashed also for the euthanasia. What do? That's part of animal control. And until we get the community involved and get things changed, like the food bank. I've had a lot of people, hey, I can't afford to feed my dog. Well, if we help you with food, can you keep your dog? If we help you with vet care, so again, the thing is to keep animals from coming in. But I'm for having paid kennel help,
part-time workers, doesn't have to be full, could be part-time
right,
too.
part-time.
You
But
ease up
again,
that burden.
volunteers are not gonna knock your door down, and you cannot run an animal control shelter on that.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
indeed,
So,
indeed.
and again, I don't know how the jail runs, but I can imagine that wouldn't add more stress. Now you've got animals in the shelter.
It wouldn't work in our facilities.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, then you
and-
have
and
to,
I've
you have to
seen- I've
examine
seen-
that,
I've
but
seen
that's
I've seen it on
what's here.
TV, it looks,
Mhm.
you know, but I can't
Those are
imagine
unique.
that puts more burden.
Unique circumstances.
But it depends, again, if that's conducive, then yes, which we haven't even examined that component, but all of the
But again,
data
I'm
are
just
pointing
not
to that.
I'm just not for trustees. I used to when we first
Mhm.
opened it.
And I'm on board.
And it was like herding cats for, for practices,
Mhm.
and it's not, it's.
And you
it's a
could get
lot.
paid, part-timers, whatever, but that's what I'm saying.
And again, trying to find, if you look all across our city, the United States, there's help wanted signs all over the place, and they can't get people to come to work. And we've got jobs, we got openings, we'll pay you X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
They can't get them filled right
For
now.
$15 an hour. they
And,
go flip
and that's the way
burgers
it's
and
gonna be
McDonald's
for a
and clean
start,
up dog
for a
poop.
period of time. It will correct itself, but it's gonna take a while. So all those are other factors to be looked at when you're trying to look at the whole project. But the disadvantage is, again, yeah, you gotta keep your eye on them. We've had one jump the fence before and take off, we got him back. Hand sanitizer, they drink that?
Oh, my God.
They put salt in it and alcohol rises to the front, and they drink that. It
Chemists.
is unreal. So those are all things, you catch them when they do it, and you're no more longer a trustee, and I go back, but those are all things that you deal with on a daily basis. And that's all I'll say. That's where we're at. That's a lot. There's a lot.
Can we keep moving on?
Mhm.
I really need to.
Yes.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Next item up is unmet needs from the animal control's perspective. This is more of an item, I don't know that it needs to be discussed so much, but it needed to be brought up so that you guys could prepare for next month's meeting
Right.
and bring those things forward
We'll have
for
that.
that. So if there's,
Lieutenant Tarlac.
yeah, so if there's nothing really to discuss in the community, we can go ahead and skip that. Does anybody have anything on that this is really from their point of view, not from ours? We're gonna get on this next
Yeah,
month.
because I've heard Lieutenant Tarlacki when I went, and they had some ideas too that they brought forth, and that's why I raised it last meeting, if you
Sure.
can do that.
Sure.
That'd be very helpful.
All right, now for the big announcement everybody's been waiting on. I'm gonna
Yeah,
let you-
Team Shelter USA, an organization, we've talked about it here. They have agreed to do it pro bono for us, but Maggie they do it through that. We applied, if we had to pay for it, it would have been $25,000 to $30,000. We didn't have to, we applied and they accepted us, so we've just saved taxpayers $25,000 to $30,000. If we wasn't accepted, it's still what people want to do, so the county would have to come up $25,000 to $30,000 to do it. So thank goodness we've saved that so far. They're going to come in and they're going to do a top to bottom, bottom to top, right side, left side. They're going to look at the whole organization and everything surrounding it. They do this for a living. They've done it across the whole United States. And the good thing about this, we're talking policies, procedures, intake, outgo. They cover it all. Inmates, how many people you should have at your shelter,
Best
for the
usage
size
of
of shelter.
funds.
So we're going to get all this information. Now, they've asked for a lot of information up front, and we've got it compiled, and we're ready to give it to them. They'll be on the ground here April 1st, okay? They will conclude within a week to so with all the things that they're going to do. They come in and they hit the ground and they don't stop, okay? At the end of this, they will say, well, okay, y'all doing this is okay, but we need to, we recommend this or we recommend that, and you need to take a look at this, and they'll provide you with a complete report back of the whole organization. At that time, you'll look at it and say, okay, we can do this, and well, that's going to cost money, or this is going to cost, that's fine. They also guarantee for the next year to be there for you and assist you in getting these goals met. They've got a network of organizations. They've got some places where they can get some money and things of that nature. And so they've got a commitment for you for the next year to assist your organization in meeting the goals and stuff that they have recommended. We're hoping that we can meet every goal that they got. After all these recommendations come in, we can do it all. That's going to be depending on cost and other factors that's figured in. But to me, it's a win-win situation for the citizens, for us, for the animals, everybody involved. So now we don't have this organization thinking this is going on, and we're saying this is going on, this. We've got a third-party independent coming in that don't have any connections to anybody here. They don't. And they're going to look at it, and they do it for a living, and they've got over 30 years that does in this. With the policies, procedures, I mean, they're going to recommend everything. At their recommendation, of course, it's still final decision. It's going to be up to the sheriff. Again, the constitutional office, he decides what goes and goes, what's good and what's not, or what he can or cannot do. A lot of that is probably going to be dependent on funding, right? Okay, so that falls to the county commission. And with the times that where are they going to find the funding to do all this? Let's discuss the vet real quick. Chief Craddock had put into the budget $100,000 salary and benefits for a vet. In talking with Miss Sarah over the phone, she said that won't touch it. She said, what's going on right now, not only in your area, but all across the United States of America, they can't get vets. And the people that are coming out of school are new vets. They got a large amount of debt. We're not talking $50,000, $100,000. We're talking $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt from where they went to school and got all their education that they got to now start to pay back. She said, you won't have anybody talk to you at all for $100,000 a year. She said the minimum is $140,000 a year. But a lot of them go $160,000 a year. Okay, we're paying our vet $25 as a consultant and stuff like that to write. Okay. Well, that's just for the thing, and they're going to be responsible for the health care of the animals, right? So what did Chief Craddock do? Revised his numbers and sent it back to the county commission, saying this is what it's going to cost, this is what we're going to do. Have we done anything in the meantime, you say, to try to attract more vets? Lieutenant Tarlackey did the same thing I did. He went out and met with vets all across Sumner County and surrounding. Nobody was interested in becoming a vet for the shelter. They got their own practice, they've got their own situations going on, and they wasn't willing to take on that extra because they got their hands full with just their own practice. So yes, there has been a continual effort to try to get a vet in, but you got to have funding, and then you got to have one that's willing to be subject, because all their actions are going to be scrutinized by all the people too. So if they don't, somebody gets a hold and he treated or she treated an animal like this, well, they shouldn't have done that. He should have done this. Then they also got to put up with that, right? Okay. That's the reason we digress to our vet's opinion and his expertise on what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and stuff like that. Just like we had to close the shelter. That was his recommendation. Right, wrong, and different. In his training, and his experience, that was the proper thing to do. He's our vet. We're paying him for his opinion, and so that's what we did. A lot of people didn't like it, but we was doing what the vet said. Okay. But what we're going to get with Team Shelter, we're going to get a complete, comprehensive review of everything there is. They're going to come back with their recommendations. They're going to do everything they can to assist for the next year to see those recommendations. If the sheriff says, yeah, the county commission said what we can do. I know the sheriff. He's an animal lover. He always has been. His house is full of all kinds of different animals. And he wants the best for the organization and for the animals over there. If he can do it, he's going to do it. If he felt like that it's a proper thing that his agency can do. If he has reservations about something and he decides he's not going to do it, that's his choice. He's the man. He's the one. He's the one selected by the people. But his heart and his effort, he wants things to be good. He doesn't like negativity. He doesn't like people criticizing his people all the time, when in reality, if you go and dive into some of these things, you'll find out that some of the information that is given out in the public, that's not the way it actually works. But this team, this shelter is going to cover it. And hopefully, I'm just excited myself. We're talking about recommendations. I tell you that my recommendations are some of the things I had asked for, because, Sheriff asked, what your budget needs. Oh, really? Here's my 5 pages of stuff, Sheriff, that I really need over here. I've had full-time vet. I've asked for vet techs. I wanted a full-time vet and 2 vet techs. And their responsibility is the animals, the intakes, the whole 9 yards. And then our office personnel can concentrate on the adoptions and all the rest of the paperwork that's assigned. And then our animal control officers can be more out in the community looking at these animal abuse cases and following this lead and following this situation out. That was out there, that's what I wanted. I couldn't get it, why? Because it was budgetary. It's a budgetary thing. And some of the, I'm on prior commissions, and sometimes these commission people are hard-headed, right? But these commission people also have a responsibility to the citizens and their job in order to take a look at everything and to appropriate the money where they can. And, being in your shoes before, it's not an easy job. Because no matter which way you decide, somebody can be upset at you, okay? But they're tasked with doing certain things, and that's the reason they're doing what they're doing. Bottom line, everybody cares. We all want the same outcome at the end. Betterment, better place, better things. But like I said, you can't compare a 3.6 million organization to a 670,000 organization. You just can't. That's not apples and apples. You can't do that. But this is, I feel like, going to get us a clear perspective of where we're at and where we need to go. And then we've got to come up with a game plan of how to get there. And like I said, so I'm really excited about it. From talking to other people that's had this done, they have done wonders. And I think when we're all said and done, I believe everybody's going to look at it and say, yep, that's what we need to do. And now how we get there. Might not be able to get there the first year, everything done with the second year, but we may be able to put a plan together that incorporates this stuff over maybe 2 or 3 years. But as long as we're making headway and making improvements, that's what it's for.
Thank you.
Yes.
So just in closing, just for the public, Tuesday, April the 2nd, correct me on the dates if I'm wrong, 6 to 7:30 p.m. It'll be in the chambers. The team shelter is going to come do a presentation for the public, for us, for the ad hoc committee, and they're going to go over everything that they're going to look at and try to answer all of your questions before you even ask them. That being said, when they're done with the presentation, you will have time to ask some questions. We'll probably put a time limit on the questions, make it a direct question, not a speech and then a question, because they're going to do all the speech giving up there. Coming up with case and reason why, something that's going to eat up everybody else's time, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. Get up there and ask a question. We'll probably put some kind of a limit on that to keep the meeting in order. The next day, they're going to go do their job. They're going to go visit the shelter. They're going to do a complete, like the lieutenant said, complete rundown of everything. Then on Thursday, they're going to come back and make their recommendation. So that will be a public meeting as well. That meeting is at, I'm trying to think what time it was. Does anybody have that right off the top of your head? I'm thinking it's the same time.
I don't think, did they say
Is
that?
that
Any time on Thursday for.
That will be
What date is
posted.
that?
Will probably be Thursday evening, I'm sure, either during this time, 5:30, or maybe the 6 o'clock to 7:30 time as well. Just look for that. It'll be posted well in advance.
Tuesday the 20th.
So it's Tuesday's public meeting, Wednesday's their tour that we are not going to be a part of. None of the public's going to be a part of. They're doing their private thing to check everything. And then Thursday will be results and recommendations of what they find. I wanted to thank, how this came about was the sheriff's department reached out to them while simultaneously Mrs. Sobo was reaching out to them.
We were on the same
And it was two minds thinking alike. They both thought of this place, knew of this place, and reached out. But I wanted to encourage the public that all of this is happening because of you guys. We started this ad hoc committee because the answers in health and emergency services weren't enough for what we heard. So I asked that we could start an ad hoc committee, and I'm glad I did because the public seems to really care about this issue like we did. We cared about it. So I hope you see that there's carrying all around through the sheriff's department and us, and there's gonna be friction at times, as there is in any committee, any board. You should have that. If everybody on a committee is agreeing all the time and rubber stamping everything, you got problems. Okay? I've seen that before. We've got some friction here, but we all are like-minded in the fact that we want to care for the animals. So please come to this meeting, let your voices be heard at that meeting, but it will be run as strict as these are. There will be a time for questions. It's not gonna be a free-for-all. We're gonna let them pretty much run the meeting, and then there'll be a point where you guys get to come up and speak and just have your questions ready. Okay?
And if I may.
Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
There's been a lot of talk about budget, and I am on the budget committee. What I would request is I hear the voices of the citizens. What we spend money on is what the citizens want. If you want to see something, if you have concerns, please bring it to that meeting, bring others with you. What we want to hear from the community, we want to hear what your needs are. And, you know, maybe we do have budgetary constraints, but maybe we take a little bit of money and put it towards a grant writer and we bring in a lot more money. There are lots of options. You've heard us talk about Hendersonville used to contribute. Well, I've looked at Knox County. In Knox, they have a facility and the county pays part of it and Knoxville pays part of it. And that they do have a large budget. When it comes together, it's just under 3 million, maybe more towards 2.4. But they do come together. We have 6 cities in our county. Some of them are wealthier than others. Some of them don't use the facility, some of them do. I don't know where that, but what we need to start with is what the citizens want, because we, the elected officials, are here to serve the citizens. So we can't do that if we don't know what you want. So be sure to bring your friends, bring any concerns you have. Team Shelter wants to hear what the community wants, what the community has experienced, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and they're gonna help us as we walk forward.
I would also like to remind everybody that Sumner is one of the lowest tax counties in the state, and everybody seems to like that. Our budget director has a famous quote that we can have sustainable raises, shiny new things, or low taxes. Pick 2. Pick 2. Doesn't matter which 2, you can only pick 2. So there is a lot we can do with grants and things like that, and we're going to learn a lot about that Tuesday night. Take notes. As I said, y'all are the soldiers. We appreciate any help we can get. We got one last motion.
We can email us too.
And can you just show them that book, Donna, if anybody else wants to?
I wanted to ask you, if I may, would you like to have this first and then?
We got one. Hey, let's
Do you
finish
think
that
that-
up
okay.
afterwards. But we got one last motion.
Motion adjourned.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
We got
Thanks,
you
guys.
out.
I'll be available if anybody wants to talk for a minute. I can hang out for a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, do you want to look at it first and then, yeah, because I talked to them a little bit.
You can get that on the
Yeah.
other side. I got one already.
I could come by you too.
Are you bringing it to me?
I got the e-version.
Oh, God, forget it.
It's got, there's such good cat pictures.
She's old time. We gotta have it in our hands.
I'll pay for it.